So it's taken a while for me to complete this set. If you look at it from the perspective of when Bandai started doing the Master Grade Endless Waltz kits, it's been 14 years. The Master Grade Wing Zero Custom was originally released in 2004. It was a modified version of the Wing Gundam Zero. Though it may be the other way around, it's hard to say which one was the intent. They probably intended to do exactly what they did, release them both relatively concurrently. I believe the Zero Wing Gundam was released maybe 6 months or so before this one. Probably because they figured that it wouldn't sell very well if they did the Wing Zero first. But hey, you know, the Wing Gundam Zero eventually got a re-release with slightly modified colors and new markings in a new box about 10 years later when Bandai started doing the Zero of all of the other TV series models. And then, you know, adapting those to be the versions as they appeared in the films, or in the film as the P-Bandai releases, which I'm still mad about. But hey, I've got them all, I've spent my money, whatever. So I'm done complaining about that. Truly, fully, completely, I am going to not complain about P-Bandai again in regards to these models. I may complain about them in other ways, but not for Gundam Wing anymore. But yeah, so this one was originally released in 2004, so it is a completely different generation from the rest of these. It shares no parts in common. It shares no design elements in common. I've built, I want to say I've done 2 of these, and I did the Wing Gundam Zero, and they were products of their era. They were great in 2004, but in 2018, I'm having a hard time believing that they're going to really hold up. But I'm still eager to take a look, so why don't we crack it open? So we got our fairly standard box art. This is the smallest box of any of the Endless Waltz Master Grades, being just a standard, regular-sized, thick Master Grade box, which was pretty typical of its era. Based on parts count, models didn't start typically going up to the larger-sized boxes until, like, the more basic models weren't going up to the larger-sized boxes until probably around 2008 or so. I mean, you can still get stuff in this size, but generally speaking, if it's this bulky or has like this type of wing system or multiple accessories or something, it would be the double-size box rather than this single size. But this is just kind of the product of its era. Dated 2004. Writing is all in Japanese, as you would expect for a model of its era. Fairly typical painting, typical of its era, kind of showing off the Gundam in a fairly neutral pose. Side shows some action poses and some details. It does include a display base. Comes with both Buster rifle halves, pair of beam sabers, you know, your opening cockpit and details, etc., etc. Other side has just some more static pose photos, as well as some showing off of the mechanical frame and gimmicks, etc. Oh, hey! This is one of those. This would be, I guess, from the very end of the era where they were including this kind of poster insert. I think it was around 2004 or 5 that they stopped including these. And I really miss them. I really enjoyed collecting these. So whenever I get a Master Grade from this era or earlier, I always hang on to these. I don't have a lot of them, but I've got a couple. And I do really enjoy having them. First up, we got our markings, foil self-adhesive stickers, dry transfers, and clear-backed self-adhesive stickers. Most of the dry transfers are like Colonies Liberation Organization markings on the wings and etc. And then you've got like warnings and whatnot for the various clear backed stickers. The rest are all eyes and sensors. The A runner, as is usual, is the system injected runner. So you got your blue, clear, red, and yellow. Got your V-crest, shoulder parts, feet, and midsection, chin. And then you got lots of your chest parts. This runner originally, since it was adapted originally to serve also as the Wing Gundam Zero Custom, has an additional section here gated off, which could be done in a different color. So I'm not sure if they would have shot this in 5 colors, or if they would have left a segment off, because I don't think they like to shoot more than 4 on a single runner. But yeah, you got your back plate mounting for the wings, wrist guards, I believe, possibly ankle armors, I'm not sure, chest plate, side of the torso. You got your clear parts for the eyes, forehead sensor, chest lens, and wrist sensors, etc. The G2 runner, all shot in white. This is a very crisp, very clean white, incidentally. You got your neck collar, you got your armor plate below the neck, wrists, ankle armor parts, articulated inserts for the shoulder armors, another part of the midsection, and I believe these are parts of the wings. I believe this is where the 2 main wings come together, and there's kind of a hinged panel in here with ball joints on it so that the individual feathers can kind of articulate out of the way. Speaking of the wings, here you can see some of those ball joints which are fixed position on the outer edges of the wings, and then on the leading edges of the wings where they come together for re-entry mode, they kind of hinge out so that they can come together a little better. Incidentally, this release of the Wing Zero introduced a new gimmick that didn't exist previously in earlier versions of the Wing Zero. It has articulated main wings. Previously, it would just be kind of the feathers would have like kind of some hinging on them. But this one actually added opening panels, which even the Perfect Grade didn't include, because it was released originally in 2000, and this was a new development for this. But it has been recreated in the real grade very successfully, though I believe the 2 panels on the main wings of it are individually posable, while these ones are geared to work together. This is the G1 runner, by the way. Our polycap set, PC126, dated originally 2002, so not too old, fairly contemporary with the release of the model. Runner L is our first runner in ABS. So this has some mechanical parts, mostly joints for the wing mechanisms. These are those hinging ball joints for the feathers so that they can fold out of the way. And these are the mechanisms that allow the new flaps to open up. You got your primary hand parts, the actual mechanical parts, the 3-finger group, the thumb and index finger, and then some additional feather bits here and there. The F runner is also in ABS. Contains the frame for the torso, midsection double-ended ball joint, shoulder pegs, shoulder armor mechanics, lower waist, some additional hand parts if you wanted to do the hands in black, or in gray rather, as opposed to white. Because that is kind of an issue of contention for some people. The real grade has the hands in gray with a white armor panel, but the official color for this one is to have them in all white. And the Perfect Grade has white fingers with a gray palm and a white armor panel on the back of the hand. So you can kind of do it any way that you want to. Where is my... actually, yeah, the real grade Wing Zero has entirely gray hands and fingers with just the white armor panel. So you could do this that way. You could do it with the gray palms and white fingers. You could do it with entirely gray hands or white hands with a white armor panel, however you want. So that's actually kind of cool that you have that extra options. You've got your arm parts, the shoulder internal mechanisms, the mechanisms for the cannons and the cannons themselves. I don't see the lids for them, so I imagine they must be on a different runner. And here is the cockpit pilot seat. The E-runner is also an ABS, and this mostly has legs. So you got your upper legs, knee blocks, lower legs, adjusting knee position, ankles, toe parts. I believe this is probably for the wing roots. I'm not sure. Probably for the main wings where they hinge onto the body. Some additional linkage parts. I'm not totally sure where they all go. But the engineering on this, considering this is 10 years older than the more modern Endless Waltz releases, engineering is very, very similar. This is more polycap reliant than those are. But a lot of it, especially the torso, are very, very similar. So aesthetically, they should all fit very well together. So I'm very happy about that. Back to styrene, we've got the B runner, and this is mostly armor parts. You got your skirt armors, calf armors, knee armors, top of the feet. You got your forearms, which do not have frames. These are like the complete forearm as a complete unit, which is kind of a bummer. In addition, also the shoulder has no frame. This is the complete forearm unit, or complete shoulder unit. You do have frames for the upper arm, however, so these sleeves will function as useful for that. You got your pilot figure. You're standing in civilian clothes and seated. I can't tell, but probably also in civilian clothes. It looks actually like he's wearing his standard bicycle shorts, like he would in the show, and so this hasn't been retooled for the movie version. So there might be another version of the pilot figure elsewhere. Because that's something Bandai would do now. If they didn't reshoot this section as gated off so they could swap out components, even for something as simple as just, is he wearing jeans or is he wearing his black shorts, you can see there's a line on that figure where the shorts come to an end. So this is definitely TV series version. There's also shin armors, your faceplate, your ankle guards, here and here, the upper legs, and the head. Incidentally, the head here is an indicator that this is a product of its era. There is a huge seam running over the top of the head. It would have been very, very easy for them to mold this mohawk as a separate piece. Just do the two head halves with a separate mohawk. They do that very often with a lot of modern Master Grades, but it just wasn't something that they did back then, which is a huge bummer because it's going to leave a huge seam. If you want to deal with that, it's going to make it difficult to paint because you got to be creative in how you're going to break the head down in order to paint everything. So there are ways to do it. I have figured out ways to do it, but it makes it for an extra pain in the ass. Here's something unusual. The C1 and C2 runners appear to be mirror images of each other. They could very easily have just been exact duplicates, but for some reason they molded them mirror image of each other. That's really kind of strange. I mean, the detail on each side of these wings does appear to be very slightly different, but strictly speaking, that wasn't really necessary, and I'm very surprised that they would do that. In fact, I can't really even see any real difference between them. Yeah, I'm not sure I can see any difference between any of these parts except for the inserts having just a slightly different peg position. That's really puzzling that they would do that way. I mean, because yeah, it would have been so easy to just do these as duplicates, but they didn't, so that's not something that they would do now. The D runner contains the rest of the blue armor parts, so you got your forearm gauntlets, more parts for the side skirts, shoulder armors, rear skirt, head, the wings on the side of the head, and the front and rear codpiece and rear armor hub. Got some actual molding on the inside of that skirt, which is not something you see very often. Not a lot of detail. There's some nasty injection pin marks in there, but hey, at least it's effort. Not something that Bandai does very often anymore. The Eye Runner contains the complete twin buster rifle. They very easily could have done the same thing as they did with the wings and just done 2 runners and mirrored them, but instead they molded everything on 1 runner. So you got the main bodies of each half, the folding over latching part. In addition, you've also got the hinge lids for the shoulder gatlings, sensor for the cannons, you got a power cable, the barrel, and then this, I believe, is a vent thruster on the rear skirt. So this is the only non-weapon related part on this, this runner. Runner H, molded all in ABS. I guess the last one didn't have all of the buster rifle parts. You got the hand grip and the part of the latching mechanism here, and I believe here as well. So all of these parts are for the buster rifle. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised there'd be some additional ABS parts on here. But the rest, these are all parts mounting for the wings, hinge parts, etc., etc. So yeah, the wings are very, very sturdy. That's a problem I've had with the Perfect Grade Wing Zero, of which I've built 3, I think, and I've got another one on the way because I don't have one anymore because they've all been destroyed in some way. But yeah, its wings are so heavy that the polycaps are simply not able to support it. But these wings, being much smaller and much lighter, and all ABS construction, are very, very sturdy and very well able to support themselves. Finally, for structural parts, we have the K Runner. This is very obviously not styrene or ABS. This is TPE, which I can never remember what TPE stands for. I believe it's some sort of polyurethane. But these are the feathers. There's 7 for each wing, and they're symmetrical. And they ball joint on to in very specific positions on each wing. So each feather has a very specific position and function. Yeah, they're very flexible, very rubbery. Beam saber blades. I love these style of beam saber blades. The SB4, the curved samurai sword, katana style blades. I can't get enough of these. Every Gundam suit should come with this type of blades. I love them so much. Dated originally 2000, and still holding their own. And finally, this is a base that's probably familiar to most of you because they're still releasing it with new models now. I believe the last one I saw it come with was either the version 2 Freedom, or it might have come with the Providence, I'm not sure. But I have seen this particular base with no less than 7 or 8 different models over the years. And there's probably a lot more than that I'm just not aware of. But it is a very, very simple, it's just a rod, it fits into this little latch. There's 2 positions you can peg it at, and it fits onto this stand, and it's very unstable. I've never liked it. I have never liked this type of base. I am so glad that action bases include this type of mounting position so that you can use one of them to display the Wing Zero or any other model that's designed to accept this, because they're so much more stable. Because they're just not bottom heavy enough. This platform is not big enough. They tend to tip, and if you lean the model forward too much, it will tip over forward. I've had that happen. I have had models fall off of my TV because they rocked over forward and they broke, and I was very unhappy. That said, if you could fit like maybe a couple of pennies in the bottom here, if you still live in a place that has pennies, then do that. I've done that and it worked. But yeah, as it is, these are not great. It does have a storage position, though, on the bottom that still persists on even versions of this stand that don't come with this model, which specifically is marked as Wing Zero Endless Waltz, but it has a position where you can mount the plate that pops off on the backpack if you mount it to the base. That out of the way. Instructions, very typical for the era. Same profile bust, same kind of marbly imagery on there. All in Japanese. I've got parts and mechanical callouts. You got some historical bio information about the Wing Zero itself. Parts callouts. That's a lot of polycaps that don't get used. Not a lot of X's on other parts though. Looks like the only parts that are X'd out is the extra hands. So officially for this model, you are supposed to use the white hands. But as I said before, you have the option. You can use whichever combination you like since it has two complete sets. Construction starts with the torso, then moves on to the head. Here you've got some bio info about the head, arm, and leg units. Then construction moves on to the arms, and then the shoulder armors, and it explains a little bit about the wings and weapons, and for some reason there is an actual organic feather right there. Center section, documentary photographs. Always love these. Kind of the three major appearances of it, you know. In the little coffin as it's headed towards as it's on the resource disposal satellite headed toward the sun at the beginning of the movie. Here as it breaks free of that the transport pod at the end of episode 2 of the OVA, and then the end of episode 3 when it's hovering over Brussels, I believe. The final battle takes place, firing the twin buster rifle. Over here just some color info, your color callouts, which of course are all in Japanese. And then your pilot figure and painting marking information. Construction continues with the lower body, and then onto the legs, then wings, and weapons, and then there's kind of a fold out here that details the assembly of the beam rifle, buster rifle, sorry, and how to transform it into re-entry mode. Here it explains how those ball joints on the front of the wings fold outwards so that the wings can come closer together. And then you get your marking guide, and then back is just the back of the model. When they got rid of that poster from the box, when you open it up, they started putting just the same photo on the back of the instructions and got rid of the photo of the back of the model, which again is kind of a huge bummer to me. But what can you do? Got to save, got to cut costs. I'm actually kind of impressed with that thing. For being almost 15 years old, it holds up. You know, it looks pretty good. The detail looks pretty good. The engineering and assembly of it looks pretty good. I mean, it's predominantly ABS construction for the frame. Save for, I mean, there's a couple of things that are kind of, I'm not going to say inexcusable because they were just part of the era it came out of, that being like the seam line over the top of the head and the forearms being, you know, frame built and or armor built and not frame built. But, you know, for what it's worth, I mean, it's a good looking model. I think it's gonna look really good with the rest of them. At least until Bandai does a version 2.0, which kind of crossing my fingers that maybe they'll do. I'm not holding my breath because, you know, I mean, there's definitely models I would like to see get a version 2.0 before the Wing Zero gets one, like the GP01 and GP02, which oldest Master Grades at Bandai has not done a new version of. Like every other Master Grade model from 1995 to about 1998 has had a version 2.0, except for the GP01 and GP02. And I'm just dying for that to happen. Crossing my fingers that it's within the next year or two. But that's whatever. This was a real nice model. The molding looked good. I saw a little bit of flash that I forgot to call out, but nothing on any parts. It was all on the runners. Yeah, assembly and detail looks really good. Still had the fully articulated hands, which I still miss. I've never been a fan of the swap out fingers because it's just more parts you can lose. But yeah, I'm eager to get building it. I don't know when that's going to happen. It's going to be a while because I'm going to be spending all my time on my next probably 2 rotations editing and not going to be doing any building. And I have a ton of other models to build. But hey, I've got them. I'll be able to build them eventually. So yeah, we're going to take a look tomorrow at the Altron. So stay tuned for that. Thank you everyone out there for watching. Happy modeling.